GM Farcaster. This is a very special episode here for the art with Chris Corella. And Chris and I are going to attempt something very, very challenging. We are not going to talk about DAOs. Maybe just a little, but this is not going to be a DAO conversation. We are going to talk about your art because Chris, a lot of people on Farcaster know you as the founder of Purple and from Nouns, but also you are primarily at heart an artist. And I want to really dive in to your art and your artist journey as part of this talk. And this is going to connect with your drop for Here for the Art for GM Farcaster's series that we're doing once a month with a Farcaster focused artist, which I'm really excited about. And I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it looks like, and it'll be revealed when it's revealed. And I'm very excited. We've given all the, creative licensing to you. So I'm so excited to see it. Can't wait.
Very
so
cool.
welcome. How are you doing?
I may or may not still be working on that piece. I'm doing
this
great.
is exactly what happened with Max. So we had Max as our first one. Same thing. Yeah. By the time we got to the interview, he's like, almost done. But that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
It's all like, you're a professor in your other life. It's always like, when is the homework due? Yep. That's when I'll do it. But life is good. I'm super happy to be doing this with you guys. I was super excited when you first asked. Big fan of what you guys have been doing. I think this is my second time sitting behind the microphone with you.
I know we've done this before, but this is the first time we're really focusing on your art. And I really want to talk about your journey as an artist. So if you can give us a little background, how did you get started with your art, and how has that evolved to where you are now and actually minting your art and doing this in a very crypto-centric fashion? And I think that's your art behind you, right?
Yeah, these are my paintings behind me.
Amazing.
So I'll talk through the journey. I will say this just as maybe a point of reference, which is I've been minting since 2020, and so creating NFTs for 4 years now. Right. That's about how long it took for anyone to care about my art. And so I feel like I'm in a good spot now. Things are minting. I have a good collector base. I have a good thesis on what I'm trying to do. But it's one thing I just wanted to tell all of the artists. It's I've been grinding for 4 years, and now my art is starting to get discussed. But my journey starts, of course, long ago, when I was primarily a physical artist. And even my very first entry into art was around street art and graffiti. At first,
wow, cool.
Mostly, cool. I mean, I grew up in New York. Went to college, moved back to New York, and then in my early 20s was in the street art and graffiti scene. First as a photographer,
cool,
and a collector, and then I started meeting the artists, and then the artists started having me over into their studio, and so I was hanging out in these kind of Brooklyn studios and the OOs, and hanging out with the street artists and watching them create, and then through watching them create, started getting involved in creating myself, and so just became an artist, a physical artist. And I got up with guys who did street art, but mostly I was making paintings. And so I was a fine artist in New York for a while. This is kind of an evolved version of that early style, but these are what my paintings look like. And I was doing pretty great. And I love to paint. I still love to paint. I was showing in galleries on occasion, or joining group shows. And then for me, the peak of physical art was I had a art studio in Long Island City, my own studio separate from home. And I realized that as I brought collectors and people who found me on Instagram through the studio, they would always buy. And so I had this moment where I had a studio, I painted in it all the time. I had visitors come by all the time. They would buy the art off the walls. And
wow.
And that was a pretty good moment of art for me. It's super fun. It's I think one thing we do lose in digital is seeing someone's face when they see your piece. And that was always really cool when people were looking around my studio and one piece would resonate with them. So I was doing that. Separately, my Instagram account grew pretty large. and then people were in DMs commissioning me. And so there's this whole other life of like a physical artist that I was starting to succeed at. I never really loved the gallery system.
Mm.
Sort of thought that was the only way. So was trying to play into that a little bit. I've also just learned from like the street art and graffiti guys that it's like, yeah, forget the galleries, just sell the art off the walls. And so that was going for me. Then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
I was actually not, I mean, my crypto story is like it's disconnected from that, and I like had these starts and stops. But I think like when the pandemic hit, I was not deep into crypto. But I did have this art studio. The whole world was shut down, and I had this cool art studio that I was allowed to go to. New York was like really bad in the pandemic, and you couldn't really leave your
Very shut
apartment. So
down.
even
Yeah.
me, so
Yeah.
none of the other artists showed up to the studio because everyone was just so terrified. So it was cool. So I showed up. I would be in the studio alone. And then a few things happened. One, I started thinking about authenticating my paintings, and that led me
Mm.
to NFTs as a technology to potentially do that. I ultimately decided NFTs are not great at authenticating real life stuff, memorabilia, or there's ways to do it, but it wasn't really working out for me. But through that process, discovered NFTs, and then and also like no one was visiting my studio anymore because we were shut down. I had an iPad Pro with a pencil or just whatever. I don't even know what version it was. I had the pencil, and so I just started doing some digital art. Um, and then I started minting NFTs first on the Tezos network. In fact, part of the story is that
That's right. I was
yeah, yeah,
trying to remember which network it was because you told
yeah,
me this part. This is
that's
so
right. So
cool.
part of the story is um, like right when the pandemic happened, I was working at a startup studio where I was head of product of all of the startups. And we had really found a groove in consumer packaged goods and setting things up on Shopify. And it just got super boring for me. Like I love software, I love art. I did never really intended on being an expert in Shopify. And so I left to go see what was next. Found NFTs through my art practice, started tweeting a lot about it, and then Tezos reached out to me, and at the time there was a
Hmm.
company in New York called TQ Tezos, and they said like, "Hey, well, all of the stuff you're tweeting about, we want to work on, and we need
Wow.
someone here to come help." And so I joined TQ Tezos, and I joined early enough in that process that I got to provide a little bit of feedback on the NFT spec. Like the spec was not even fully developed yet, and then we built the first tools. I was on a team that like built the first tool where you could like mint at all. It's called Minter, and
Cool.
it occurred to me at some point that no one had even tried this thing on testnet. It was pretty mature. We were on testnet. No one had tried it on mainnet, and so I just minted my first artwork on Tezos mainnet, and then it turns out that is the first artwork minted on Tezos mainnet. And so
Wild.
uh, did that for a little bit. Left
I have to
Tezos.
pause there for
Yeah,
1 second
cool.
because that has to be the origin of your need for provenance. And
That's
like being
definitely where
like
I got it.
grabbing that like first one in a collection and all that kind of
That's
fun.
it.
Well, you and I
You
always
know,
joke about that you like to be first. And it's
yeah,
just like
it's
that's gotta be the reason. So
it's
funny.
it's funny that like it's not that I like to be first. I just am often first, and I think it's like I don't
So
have the
funny.
filter that makes people afraid to do something. So like I was in
Yeah.
this Tezos organization was like so much bigger than me, right? I never like thought to ask anyone, hey, should I try this thing on mainnet? I just did it, right? And then after I
So
did it,
funny.
people told me like, hey, you're the first one to do that. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. It never occurred to me
So
that
funny.
that would be the case. So those early days of Tezos were really fun. Hicketnunk was the site of the what I did was pre Hicketnunk. But
Okay.
then
Wow.
then very quickly Hicketnunk jumped on. I was an early minter there and
Right.
user, and it was a really fun vibe and cheap gas prices when Ethereum gas prices were pretty
Right.
crazy at the time. So did that. Then eventually I just loved it, right? So back in the story arc of it was the pandemic. I had joined Tezos. I put out my first NFT. All of a sudden, I could reach people who after having people come through my studio constantly, it was like I
Mm.
went months without anyone seeing my art, and so I really just sort of bought into digital art, NFTs, having massive reach, and so that's kind of how I got started. Then from
Wow.
Tezos went to Ethereum, and then kind of went down deep down this rabbit hole.
And here we are today. So that's I love that story. And then I first met you, you were actually you had done a gallery showing, a digital art gallery showing in Miami during Art
Yeah,
Basel, and I remember
that's right.
that I remember that picture, you and your daughter, and which I'll have to
Yeah,
find and throw in here somewhere. Because it was amazing to see that, and it was some love that those pieces that you were doing, and that was sort of my first introduction to the art aspects of
yeah,
that side of your world. Um, and then, so let's zoom forward just a tad to where we are now, because I really want to talk about Hypersub, as
yeah,
well
yeah,
as take a look at some of your really recent pieces, because I'm really loving some of the vibes that I don't know, you've hit this moment where you're just like, I feel like you're firing on all cylinders, and I just really love every single thing that you have come out. So I'm like so glad I got Studio 2 in time. So let's talk about, so Hypersub, for those who may not know, is a way to subscribe to your favorite artists, and you can get different airdrops and things like that too. It would probably be help if I was actually sharing my screen. That would help. That would help a lot. So it that way you can collect from the artist like everything they do, you know, whatever they decide to make a part of their subscription. And whoops, that is not what I want to do. We're just gonna edit this whole part out. Here we go. Now we're cooking. Um, so this is your Studio by Corella, C. Corella, Studio 2 by C. Corella. So first of all, can you tell me a little bit about the name and
yeah.
what was the name about? And then talk about your sort of how you set up the way your subscriptions were going to work and all of that.
Yeah, sure. So Studio 2 is because this is my second proper studio. And so I talked about my studio in
Love
Long
it.
Island City,
Right.
which was like my studio for a long time, and really great. And then, through COVID and then life and all of this stuff, I wound up painting in the corner of a bedroom or, doing artwork from wherever. And so 6 months ago, moved down to Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and live in a
Wow.
house here with like a real proper studio. And so immediately in my head, it was just Studio 2 because this is the second studio. Before I had any sort of ambitions for Hypersub or anything, it was like Studio 2 in my head. And so then I came across Hypersub like very early. I think Oxum had the first one. I saw this. I thought like, oh, this is cool and something I want to experiment with, and I want to support the Fabric team and see what this is all about. There was no master plan here, although I think it turned out really well. And so then I really kind of overthought it. Like, what should these subscriptions be? And in fact, this I would like to simplify some more too. And so at first it was like this, which is basically like get everything I meant. Actually, that wasn't even in the first version. I didn't quite know how to use it, right? So it was like get one edition a month, and then
Yeah.
anything I do in between. That was sort of my plan. And then get access to this token gave it space, and this token gave it this. And like I made it like pretty complicated. And on here it still says like
Yeah.
get early access to my essays, which is still
Yeah.
true. I haven't written an essay
You haven't written an
since I've
essay, but you get
been
early
there.
access to it if we
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Um,
I love it.
what I've ultimately decided is that like everything I mint, I want to send to my hyper
Amazing.
subs, and so I would simplify that a lot to like sign up and get everything I mint, and that's effectively how I've been operating. So that's how I started, right? I set the price very very low. I think it's like actually to sign up for a month, I think is less than one free mint on Zora.
Wild.
And so I intentionally was not optimizing for revenue. I was just wanted to get a collector base, and so that's how I started. I got about 100 subscriptions really quickly. Then I kind of went into this kind of hyper mimetic art mode, partially because of Hypersub. And like before Hypersub, or like when you're just getting started as an artist, or before anyone is taking notice, you'll like mint an NFT and like 3 or 4 people mint it, and it's cool, and I'm grateful, and but it was not like super motivating, just didn't. My Instagram account was so much bigger that like if I posted art there, like more people saw it. But then once I had 100 people in my Hypersub, and everything I minted went to 100 people who like my artwork, that was like super rewarding to me. and then was just encouraging. And then I like just picked up the pace. We can talk separately
It's
about
amazing.
like
I know I
how,
need to go through some of these pieces because you have
yeah,
definite different vibes happening here. So
yeah.
let's dig into a little bit on some of these. Um, so this has been like this sort of abstract, not glitchy. What would you call this? Like, what is the
Um,
title? What would you call this?
yeah, so in my head, it's animated Bauhaus. So it's like inspired by the Bauhaus movement, but it's animated.
Oh,
And
cool. Okay.
that's not what I think of when I think of Bauhaus. And I can't say I'm, first of all, so long ago, animation was a whole different beast.
Right.
But I don't know if there were animators back then, but that was what I was trying to do here. I've long been obsessed with like Bauhaus or geometric art, and then every time I do it, and I can do some stuff I really like, it feels very derivative. And so I never really released my kind of Bauhaus stuff or my geometric stuff, which is like what I really love. But then once I started animating them, I started to realize like, oh, cool, this is the essence of what I love about this kind of art, and it doesn't feel derivative. And so that's
I
the Purple
love
Energy
this so
series.
much. This one
I
has been so fun. There's so many cool ones that you have in here, and they're kind of mixed in. But I want to talk
uh,
about this too, because this seems like a takeoff. This seems like taking that and sort of mixing it with a different energy here.
yeah,
I
so
love, love, love,
yeah,
love what you've been going with these. They're so
thank
cool.
you.
So how did
Thank you.
this come about?
You can scroll down to First Kiss, which is probably when I started this.
Oops,
Um,
hold on.
so one thing I'll say, these purple energies, if you find Purple Energy number one, which
Ooh,
you
there's
don't
a,
have to
ooh, I
you don't have to
love
scroll,
this
but
one by the way with the
uh,
arch, of course.
yeah, it's
Oh, is this
cool.
first kiss? This is
That's
first
number
kiss.
two.
That's
The
number
one right
two.
before that. Here's number
Number
one.
one. So
Um,
cute.
so, so let me just say, if you go all the way back to, and I'm not asking you to scroll because it might take you a while, but Energy number one was created like when Frames came out, and then
That's right.
the growth of Farcaster was like crazy, And it's like I've been
Yeah.
at Farcaster forever now, so that was like a real moment for a lot of us who, were
We've
used to
been
just
here for
talking
a
to our
minute. Yeah.
yeah, we're used to
Ooh, I
talking to
love
our 10
this one
friends.
too. This sketchbook number one. This
That's
is
right. So I want
very
to do more of these
beautiful.
sketchbooks. This is
Beautiful.
kind of before I animate what these things might look like. Um,
Oh, that makes a lot of
so
sense.
so Purple
Look at
Energy
this
number
one.
one was literally that's four, cool. Three, I love this one. That was for Valentine's
St.
Day. The
Valentine's. This is
uh
two, and this is
that's two,
one.
and here's
Is
one,
this
right?
one? This
And
is one,
so yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah.
number one. And so that
Love
was
that.
like I was really trying to harness that energy. It was like just such a crazy moment. And that's what this is all about. And through that, learned this animation technique. And then people really liked it and asked for more. And
Loved
so then
it.
I started
Yep.
doing two and three. And in my head, it was like, okay, cool, I've done four, I'm done. And then people kept asking for more. And so I've just continued this series. But
I
through
love
that,
it.
kind of learned how to animate with AI. And so then was doing this work. And then from that, started to explore other animations. Um, if you go back up and you see my Valentine's Day piece, that was like the first time I like tried something
Mm.
different. Can we do a heart? Can we animate in a similar style? Uh, that I just started
And
like
then this
perfecting
sort of
my
gives me vibes of your other work, earlier work, before you started doing the animation, and it has the same kind of color palettes,
yeah,
but in a different approach, and I love that.
that's right. And actually,
Yeah.
before I was doing my Studio 2 work, and so I think some of this is just
Love
the
these.
influence of your environment. Like the art I made when I was living in New
This one's
York was
amazing.
different. Thank you.
This one's
Different than the
really
art.
amazing. This one, there's something about this one and the colors and the
It's really
movement that
cool.
really
I agree.
grabs me. I love it. Yeah, it's beautiful. And then I didn't realize that the sketchbook ones were sort of like the starting points for some of these animations. So I love that
Yeah, and I
tie in.
plan to maybe plan on releasing a lot more sketchbook ones, but I'm just creating art so quickly now. It doesn't stay in the
This
sketch
one,
very very long.
this one's
Um,
incredible too.
so
This
this one I
one's
created in so the park came to visit me in Honduras.
yes.
We did Fridays at the park, and so Fridays at the park. It was a Friday. We rented a music studio here in Tegucigalpa. We brought in Honduran artists to collaborate with the park. They all made a song together. We brought in a Honduran chef to cook us food. And this I made and I'm chilling in the studio. They're all working. I'm like just chilling, listening to the music, like, soaking in the vibes. And then I was like, oh, I should make art while I'm here. They're all making art. And so this one was actually made in the
Wow.
studio. And so it has like some piano vibes, and it will scroll to like some, you can find some guitar looking stuff in here.
Yeah.
So that was particularly like the energy of the studio, which is what I was trying to
The
capture. And
energy
it's
of
what
the
I
studio. I love it. I love it. I
so
didn't realize that was the story behind it. That's incredible.
that's the story behind that one. Then I started going back to it's obviously not animated,
This is
but
more like
my
your, yeah.
my work before Studio 2 was heavily focused on women.
Yep.
I think my art has changed based on where I live. Seems kind of normal, but my New York art was one thing. In Miami, I started doing these series around women, but it's still abstract art. This
Yep.
is this is less
And you know
abstract than
what?
what I
I
used to do.
actually, Adrian had mentioned that. She said, I really love the way that he portrays women because it's not, it's very beautiful. It's very artistic. It's not exploitive. It doesn't feel like it's very different. And I totally agree. Like this is stunning.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. She collected one of my early pieces when I was in Miami, and that's actually how I connected with her in the first place. Um, so from here, right, I've like now kind of learned animation.
I love
Um,
this.
and then this was like a throwback to like, well, what was the art I made in New York? In New York, I made a lot of
Yeah.
art about New York. And so I started thinking about like one of the places I live and the window outdoors. And I really love this. And then I just felt like it didn't resonate with people. But I have since have gotten some feedback from people who like really love this piece, you know. So
I
maybe I'll do
think if
more of
you're a
these
New Yorker or
series.
you're from a city, this is gonna so touch you. Like it's
I
gonna
think that's maybe
you're
it.
gonna feel the vibe of the city. You know what I mean? The city's alive. And that to me is like what it feels like. But it also
Yeah.
feels a little frenetic and very like a little stressful almost. So it's really
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
interesting. Whereas this kind of energy, look at this one. I love this one with the DGen feel. This
Yeah,
is
this
like
was
the gentleman perfection. I love that.
like I'm trying to like remember there was a moment that made me do this, which was obviously DGEM, all of the tokens that DGEM was mooning. I think maybe this was claim day,
Was
like the
this one
second
on
airdrop.
DGen? Or no, it's higher. So I didn't know if that was it. Oh,
They all say higher because that's just my thing. But that did mint for DGEM.
yeah, okay.
So
Was
I
that your
don't know how
first
much.
one on minting with DGen, maybe?
Yeah, it totally
Yep.
was.
Yeah. I love it.
And that alone has been an amazing experience that I would love to talk to more artists about because I have another piece, the one you scrolled with the arch and the woman with the purple hat, which kind of it goes it's
Ooh, was
up,
it
but this is all part of the larger story here.
down below or
Um,
up? I'm not sure
no,
if I went past it.
it's up above, so more
Up
recent.
above. Okay.
Um,
Ooh, this one.
this
Nope.
one yep, that's the one. So that one is available for one DGen, right? So it's like a very small
Wow.
amount of money, practically
Yeah.
free. But the DGen community is like I learned a lot first of all from that last piece, but then from this piece is like a lot of people collected it.
Yep.
And what's really cool for me is it's different collectors. Like a lot of my other work
Yeah.
gets kind of like the Zora versus Zora collectors, but the DGen collectors are just different than my other collectors. And so I sort of then realized like, oh, you can mint into these other token communities, obviously authentically. And if it connects, it's like you get a whole new collector base,
Yeah.
which is super interesting. So I really love that. When I see these things minting, still today they mint. Like today, my interface blows up all day. But when I see them, it's always
Well,
from EMSs that like I've never seen before collecting my art. So I think that's really cool.
I love this one. It's something about it really grabs me as well.
Yeah.
This particular vibe that you're doing right now, and I want to slide back a little bit to this. It has this like I don't know, like it's if you could have done digital art in the 1950s, this is what it would have
That's
looked like.
that's
And
exactly it.
it's so fun. This is
So
something
this
I
is
could show
like
my mom and she would love it. You know what I mean? Like this
resonate
is
with
something
it
she would
totally.
love. It's not necessarily like you don't have to, know what NFTs are to get there.
Yeah, totally.
So it's pretty amazing. And then this is it on Zora. It's just so I love it. I absolutely love
That's
it.
a great piece.
Um,
So this was like the story here is that like okay, so
and I
now
love
I've
this one
learned
too. So this one's like same, but in New York, right? We're in the
in New York.
park and then
Yeah,
I love
totally. And
this.
then my next one will be kissing in Paris.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm in post on that, but not for you guys. But the so I had so anyway, 3 different styles of art based in New York. And in Miami, I started doing women. And then in Tegus, I'm just sort of channeling this new energy. Then I perfected, not that I perfected, but I started to craft around animation. And so then it was like, how do I bring these things all back together? And how do I like focus back on women as a subject here? And um, and yeah, I just sort of found this 50s, 60s
Yeah.
magazine style, cigarette ad style. Actually,
Yes. Cigarette ad style. That's exactly
if
what
you
it is. Yeah.
scroll, and here's the other, if you scroll all the way almost like the beginning of Studio 2, so in the other direction,
Oh, the other
I
direction.
literally
Okay.
started, this is actually more similar to my older art of featuring women.
Hold on. Let
And
me
I
do this
was
a different way. I'll do this different.
super focused. Cool. I was super focused on literally cigarette ads, French 50, 60, 70 cigarette ads.
Ah, okay.
And so then I created a series. I dropped them all to my hyper subs. I think it was like 11 pieces. Just dropped them all one night to them. Um, and so then I just started bringing all of the strings together. Yeah, these pieces actually.
So nice.
So
So
the
good. This is the ones that that Adrian and I were talking about.
Oh, cool.
Just the way that you're capturing, it's just beautiful. They're just beautiful
Yeah. And so the
and
topic
all
here
different.
is creativity. This is
Yeah.
like what I was feeling and thinking. But like it was actually a very good one. Like she is very like French
Yeah.
cigarette ad,
Yes.
1950s, 1960s looking. As are a lot of I wound up like that's yeah. So that's like the
So
inspiration for
good.
this. So then it was like, how do I bring it all together? I've got this glitchy animation. I've got these women that I've been working on my whole life. I've got this kind of time period of 50s, 60s that I'm trying to play with. And that sort of resulted in First Kiss. This, yeah. Um,
Love this. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through because
yeah,
I
no
love these
problem.
so
They really
much.
do look so good.
And I love that one. The glasses in that one feels very
The
70s to me.
sunglasses.
Oh, and then we get into a whole different abstract Zorb
Yeah.
sort
So
of feel too.
this is when
Love that.
I thought that every month you will sign up for my hyper sub, and every month you'll get like an official Studio 2 piece. And I mostly did that for myself so that I wouldn't go a month. You know, my art is
Right.
like I'll make a lot of it and then I'll go months without making any. So I wanted to have like a commitment. And so the Zorb in the middle is in fact, if you scroll up one more, maybe, is a painting I made. So these are the paintings, not the ones behind
Oops.
me. Um, this is the
This one.
painting, right?
Yeah.
I made this painting down here in Studio 2, and then the digital representation of that is the Zorb. And so I was trying to do one of these each month. This is January, and then we did February.
Right.
And then by the time I hit March, I'm just creating so much art that I
You
didn't
just
want to
went
go
crazy.
back to this style. I just like, what do
Yeah.
I, I just want to keep, the value prop has changed for me.
That makes a
But
lot
yeah,
of sense
totally.
that you just have to go with your muse. Right. And we talked about
Yeah,
that with Max a little bit, that like a
yeah,
lot of what he creates is based on, what he's feeling in that moment. And it's
I
not
feel that
about,
way.
yeah, it's so it
I tried to do
changes.
the,
And he has
I can't
very
remember if it
different
was
styles too, similar to like the way
totally.
you have very different styles. Like
Yeah,
if I go to right now, just your last two pieces are so different from each other, right? You've got this, which is
yeah,
amazing. And it's Paris, and it's this, style we were just talking about, this sort of 50s, but animated. And then the one right after that is Purple Energy 9, right? So
yeah. I think
different.
like
Same
I used to
techniques
think
a little bit, but not so different, like completely different.
very different, totally. Yeah, because I mean, you have different feelings when you make things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
of
always
course.
thought like in that traditional skeuomorphic gallery mentality that you had like a style and you had to stick to that style and people like would
Right.
recognize your style. And then like last year, I was inspired by like some of like the prolific outputters. And so, Jacob was
Mm,
telling me just mint every day. Light started telling
mint
me
everything.
mint
Yeah.
every day. Gammy mints all the time. And I was like buying what they were selling. I'm like, yeah, I should be minting everything all the time. And then it's still want to practice. And then two, it still is like intimidating at first. And then I started doing it. And that sort of Studio 2 is sort of the representation of me doing that. And and now I'm just cranking out stuff all of the time, And so even if it's I'm trying something new, I want my collectors to have it, right? So that's what the sketchbook. The sketchbook was an idea of like, as an artist, I think all artists feel
Right.
this way. It's like there's so much stuff you don't release because you don't feel it's good enough. And as what I consider like a mimetic artist, I think that's just not, you just have to release stuff, like show
Yeah,
people your stuff.
absolutely.
And so
And
it
I love that.
makes
And I
things the
love
opposite.
that, every once in a while I'll miss what you're dropping and I'll go into my wallet, like, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, what is this? Oh, wow." Just because
Yeah. Yes.
I'm looking for something on OpenSea and I'm like, oh, I didn't even see him drop this one. This is amazing. And
Yeah. I
it's
mean, one
so
bummer
that's
about
the
the
like that's definitely the benefit of Hypersub is that you
totally,
do get these incredible pieces. You don't miss the mint. It's in your wallet
totally,
and it's
totally.
amazing. So I love
And,
that. I
and
love
like on
that.
one hand, there's just so much going on that of
Yeah,
course you miss stuff. Like I
of
miss like
course.
my friends drop new products that
Yeah,
I find out about later, right? Because there's just so much going on now.
so
Um,
much.
the one thing I'll say is a bummer is that OpenSea hides everything that's airdropped, right? As like a spam
Yep.
prevention.
I always check
And
now.
so, right. And so I often like will go in, like
Yep.
it'll be a couple of weeks and I'll go looking for something specific, like you mentioned in my hidden
Yep.
folder. And then I see all of the hyper subs I'm
Yep.
signed up to.
I've now got into the habit of when I go in to OpenSea, like I'll check a couple times a week, if I'm not specifically going for something, and just make sure I check my hidden file because now with Hypersub I got a ton in there, and I'll
Yeah.
go in and I'll just check, and it's amazing because I have a few different subscriptions to pretty much all the Farcaster artists. I have
Yeah.
subscriptions
And
now, and they're amazing and they're prolific and they're creating all the time. And like, I want all the things. I want the sketches, I want the final
yeah,
works, I want it
amazing.
all. Like, drop it. Like, if I think it tells a story in itself of your journey as an artist, and I think we're gonna look back on this time and really appreciate that we have this full story that's been
Totally.
told and not just the ones that you chose to tell.
Yeah,
We get a little bit of everything.
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love my hyper sub page, my Zora profile. They're almost the same, but
Yeah.
this hyper sub page is like such a good way to like go through my portfolio. And totally, we can start at the beginning. And as I was starting to tell this story, totally tells the story of what I'm thinking and the evolution of my work.
And
I
I
would say
think
like I
that's
have
really
I'm
I
sure.
think the way that, and I think this is because Johnny's a designer, the way that the hyperset lays out as well just gives it much better look and feel than like the Zora page really. The Zora collection pages don't look as, I don't know. To me, this just has a better look and feel, and it really displays the work, really well. So I do like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hypersub. Like my little alpha here, which I don't think is a secret anymore, but it was like once you
Yeah.
mint an artwork and then drop it on 100 people, and then you make it available for sale. And for me, it's always a pre-mint. Then people come to that site, and
Yep.
you already have 100 people collecting. And I've noticed that just drives more mints than if you start at zero. It's like, I think it's just human
Yep.
psychology, which if you come to a page and there are three mints, you might not mint it. If you come to a page and you see there's already 300 mints, you're more likely to mint it. And so
Absolutely.
it serves like two different things for me. One, I have true collectors who I can get my work
Yes.
into their hands, everything I do. That's first and foremost. And then second of all, I think it has this amplification effect. Both my
Right.
collectors sharing the work, but also when you come to Zora, you see that there are people who care already.
Absolutely. And I think that is a huge unlock for all of us who are on Hypersub. I love this too. This was let's talk about Enjoy real quick.
Enjoy. Yeah.
So this was taken to a little takeoff on Enjoy. I know I also, but you more so, have quite a bit of Enjoy tip to hand out. So for those who
Yeah.
may not be familiar, Enjoy launched a couple weeks ago with an airdrop to those who had been minting and creating on Zora, and then gave an allotment of a tip to be able to give those to artists as you mint, as you go along and mint things on Zora. So what has been your experience so far with that? And I'm like not tipping enough. I feel like I'm tipping a ton, and then I'm
It's
like,
still
oh
not
my
enough.
God, I must have 500,000 left. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even know what your tip allowance has to be even more, because mine's like over a
Yeah.
million and yours must be like over 3 million or something crazy.
Yeah. It's somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Um, so one, I think it's super fun. Uh, I'm a big supporter of Enjoy, and primarily because it's rewarding behaviors I was already doing. And
Yeah.
so many of us were already minting on Zora, collecting on Zora, and like if you probably like 90% of my mints have a comment.
Yeah.
So coming from nouns where we have vote with reason, as soon
Yeah.
as Zora had mint with reason, I was like, this is it. And so
I did
commenting,
the same. I
minting,
was doing the
tweets,
same. I was already commenting
and
like most of the
mhm,
time, unless
that's it.
I, was in a hurry or something. But yeah,
And I think in all of the ways that's like the
yeah,
behavior we want to encourage, right? Like collect my work, leave something on chain about it, right? Like these
right.
comments are on chain, right? So like say something on
Yeah,
chain about it. So that was already happening, right? And there was token chat where you could see a
yeah,
stream of all of the chats being left on chain. So when Enjoy came out, it was like, okay, number one, I got a big airdrop
yeah.
and tip allowance because I was like, I started number 12 on their leaderboard, and then this week I'm number 6 on their leaderboard. And I think that's just
Amazing.
I mint a lot both ways. I mint and
Yeah,
I collect and I comment on
right.
everything. And I think there's all kind of factors in. And also, clearly standing on the shoulders of DGen, which has been really interesting and like an interesting positive sum game to reward content creators and people who are adding value to Farcaster. And so now I felt like, oh, this is cool. We're already doing this stuff. We're now encouraging more people to do this stuff, and we're supporting artists
Right.
by tipping tokens to them. And so I've just had a lot of fun with it. I mint I Yeah, my numbers are big, and so I give a lot. My tips are now typically 111333, which is like 111,000 enjoy.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I just do that all week long. Um, and
I was
it's
doing
funny.
77777, and I was like, I don't think I'm even coming close to
It's
using
not
everything up.
enough.
Even though I'm
Yeah,
doing
totally.
77,000, I'm like, I don't think I'm even coming close. Thought you'd
Absolutely.
appreciate this mug.
Yeah, I do
Um,
like that. So yeah, we're gonna get into a little bit of DAO talk now. So I just like Enjoy as a concept. I like
yeah.
the notion of different ways we can support artists. I like kind of using this new technology to experiment with new ways to do things. And so I'm interested in seeing where Enjoy can go. And then one of the DAOs I'm part of is called Energy, and
I
it's
did wanna talk about that one. Yep, I was definitely
so we're
gonna
here.
I wanted to lean into that one because that fits perfectly with this.
Yeah, and so Energy is I don't know how old it is now. It actually came out like a week after Zora Network went live, so
So
whenever that
August.
was,
Had to be sometime in August. Yep.
something like August. And
Yep.
our goal was always it's a Namish DAO, of course, and then the goal was to support the arts on Zora Network. And we've done a couple of projects, and we kind of were off to a slow start, but then this year came around, and we're funding tons of stuff.
Amazing.
And it's really cool seeing tons of artwork come out. And we're doing the only prop I think I've ever put up with Energy was to buy 1 ETH worth of Enjoy, which
Oh,
it
cool.
passed, and it turned into I think 7.6 million Enjoy, which is quite a lot. And so
Wow.
Energy is holding this Enjoy, and we are now running a rounds, rounds.wtf in a channel called Enjoy Art, and every week we're giving out 1 million Enjoy to people who post in
Amazing.
that channel. Specifically, to qualify, you have to post your Zora link. And Rounds made some changes: one to support Zora Network, and then two to only count Zora links. And so now we have this channel, Enjoy That Art. People are posting their art there. It's high quality stuff. I expected like a lot of spammy stuff, but it's actually been really high quality. And so now we're kind of running this micro fund, micro grants for
Love
artists.
it.
The way Rounds works is you have some allocation. We're doing $1 million a week, and that gets split amongst the pieces that get likes on their casts. And then more specifically for us, it's the top 500 Enjoy holders. Their likes count, and other people's
Oh,
likes don't
cool.
count. And you do this as a kind of spam detection, civil thing, bot thing. Um, Top 500 Enjoy has got
That's a lot. Yeah, that's
that
still a
must
lot.
be a
Yeah.
lot of the
I
community,
gotta get
right?
in there and
Um,
start voting. I don't even think I've done
yeah,
anything
cool.
in there.
Check
I
it
have to go
out.
jump
Check it
in.
out.
Yeah,
And
because
we
I
just we
definitely
just launched it yesterday.
oh, okay. So I haven't I'm
Yeah.
like, "Wait, how did I miss that?" All right. All right. That's why. That's how I missed it. Okay, it was yesterday.
So
But
that's it.
that's
So now
amazing.
just more involved in the Enjoy community, and
Amazing.
yeah, it's just been pretty cool. And then I don't
Amazing.
know if you've seen stats of like Like, this is when Enjoy launched, minting in Zora exploded.
Yeah. Huge.
And so one can only assume this is a primary cause of it. But it's been really cool. Like Enjoy has been encouraging
Very
more people
cool.
to mint. And what I don't see, which is like some of the early concern was like, oh, people are just going to spam Zora. But like it kind of doesn't work that way, right? Like if you
No.
don't have good quality stuff, people don't mint your stuff. It costs money to mint.
Right.
So you already have that one level of like you have to mint and then decide to tip on top of that. And so
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of spammy, low quality stuff on Zora, but I only ever see the good stuff. And like the Enjoy
Yeah.
community on there seems to be pretty high quality in my opinion.
And I've been actually, what's really funny is because I have all these hyper subs now. I've actually been going back in and minting like another one just so I
That
can
is
leave a
awesome.
tip.
That is awesome.
So like go
Really.
back in. I'm like, okay, I need to go back in and tip this and tip that. And I've been also doing some focusing on chain media and tipping
Yeah,
those and to
perfect.
encourage that as well, and to encourage more people to mint their podcasts and mint their music and those kind of things
Totally.
on top, and all as well as visual art, which I love collecting. It's been amazing for me with NFTs to I've always loved art. I've always been a appreciator of art, but not really a collector, because first of all, where am I going to put it? Second of all, I don't have that kind of level of money to spend on, or just if it's really high quality, where am I going to put it? Am I going to store it? All that stuff. So all of that goes out the window when it's digital. And I've ended up with pieces that are just amazing from incredible artists that like it's for the cost is way too low, but uh, everyone's happy, so that's great. But I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And now I
Yeah.
have these galleries on Cyber that are next level of like
Ah, cool.
real gorgeous amazing art. And I need to do some updating and do some more galleries too. But I think it's just it's a renaissance, right? To me, it is.
I
It's
think so.
or a degenerescence, whatever
The
you want to call
Genesis,
it.
I like that. I
But
do like this
it's
era
amazing.
of
Yeah.
I love this era of free minting, or now we have ERC20 minting that's pretty low
Yeah.
cost. I think in the bull market, we had these like one of ones or like a collection of
Right.
10, and the prices were really crazy. And that was very
Yeah, you couldn't
skeuomorphic.
really couldn't get in. It was
Yeah,
much harder. And now
right.
I'm, on a regular basis, if I see something I like, I mint 3 of them and I give one away. And it's the mint of 3, keep one, sell one, share one.
Yeah, nice.
That's how I generally collect if it's something I really like. And it's especially if it's a free mint. If it's a Zora mint, it's
Totally.
nothing. You're talking
Yeah.
dollars, few dollars.
Totally.
And then if I get to add an Enjoy tip on top of it, that's pretty amazing. So it's a lot of fun.
So cool. I think
It's
like the value of I think this is like a hot take, but this is my worldview. Like the value of digital art is how many people see it. I mean, it's like you're on the
yeah,
internet, you're connected. So like where
yeah,
the value of a one of one physical piece of art is like someone's work, it's actually hard, impossible to reproduce that stuff.
yeah,
Whereas like the value I think of digital art is mimetic, and so the more people who can collect it, the more value it has. And so then this notion of free mints plus protocol rewards just fits really into my entire thesis. I think all of these things coming together, sort of protocol rewards, hypersub, having met Light and Jacob and Gami and all of these
yeah,
people, just resonates with my art. And then all of that, and then Farcaster growing like crazy is a big part of it. And then all of
yep,
this kind of fuels my current creative output. And then also through all of these people and other media just being less precious about what I put out,
yeah.
has been really fun. I mean, it's the most fun I've been having on chain since I've been here.
And I think that's a really good point too, is that, having fun with it, not making it so precious, not making it like it has to be, the Mona Lisa wasn't the Mona Lisa until it was, you know what I mean? It
Totally.
wasn't,
Totally.
so it's like, we don't know what's going to stick through the ages, but if you enjoy it, if you like it, then why not put it out in the world to everybody else to appreciate?
Absolutely.
And so I'm grateful to see that I've been able to collect so much of your work. I'm such a fan of your hyper sub. I'm so excited to see the piece that you put together for GM Farcaster, here for the art. Can't wait to drop that to all our subscribers, and we're going to drop it to your subscribers of Studio
Yeah,
2, which is
amazing.
fun. We decided to do that for this particular one. And also, we're going to give away one of your subscription to your hypersub. So to somebody from our hypersub. So
Yeah,
that'll
super
be
cool.
fun. We have a little crossover. And that's what we want to start doing, is just really help each other and promote each other, and grow this amazing ecosystem that we've all found ourselves in. And you're a big reason that I'm in this ecosystem. And I was just talking about that today with somebody, of like, how did you end up here? I'm like, well, it's pretty much Chris Carella's fault. But and a few other people, but mostly you. So it's amazing to see this all sort of coming together and becoming this bigger thing that we all get to, the genius that we all get to be a part of, to use Adrian's
Yeah,
word.
totally.
And it's amazing to see this. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. Everyone can win. And it's really that moment where we get to have this incredible art just all around us, surrounding us.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to do it this way because most of the world is still against us. So
Yeah.
it's like we all have to
Yeah.
win together here because there's no other option.
Exactly. Amazing. Well, Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me here and doing this piece, and I can't wait to see it. Tomorrow we're going to drop it. Hopefully, if everything's ready. Because hey, you picked the date. Let's be clear. You picked the date. You want to drop at 420. So
True story.
So it's all going to drop. It's going to drop together. And we're also going to restream this particular interview on Unlonely as well. So we'll have that after one of our shows this week, probably Monday or Tuesday. We'll decide which day works best. And thanks so much. And I will see you at FarCon. Yes.
I think I probably will not be going to FarCon this year.
Oh no.
Maybe I'll be at Fest. Fest might be my next travel.
Okay. All right. I know you've had a lot of travel going on lately. So so hopefully I'll see you sometime soon, but we'll be thinking of you if you're not at FarCon. But I'm excited to see this piece. And thanks so much. And
all right, always great talking to you.
Everybody else, bye-bye.